Welcome to the AU Scoop. I'm your host, Phillip Dukes, aka Dukes the Scoop. Check me out on Twitter and Instagram at Dukes the Scoop. And make sure you hit the like and subscribe button. If you'd like to support the channel, go become a member. Look in the description, you'll see a link to become a member. But today, we got to talk about the latest in Auburn Spring football. I got some intel from Auburn Scrimmage that they had last Saturday. Yesterday, I got a little bit of intel from yesterday's practice. Today's it's Wednesday, April 2nd. So I just wanted to go over some things that I've been hearing, some recurring themes that you will probably, as an Auburn fan, you'll probably be glad to hear that you're still hearing the same things. As they continue to invite recruits and they continue to put on the show as far as internally, there hasn't been a whole lot that's been kind of said on the outside. So I've been having to do some digging and talking to different sources. And I think we're going to talk about Deuce Knight. But I think that with how well Deuce Knight and how surprising he's been and how explosive and how good he looks and all of his high-end traits, I think that Jackson Arnold has been slept on a little bit. I think Deuce is a super exciting player. And I'm gonna talk about them like if you go look at the sites on 324/7 Rivals, every time they interview a kid, the first thing that comes out their mouth is Deuce Knight. But I don't want to undersell what I've been hearing about Jackson Arnold, his command of the offense, his decision making, the ability to make the right read, when to go where, taking over a look. And I'm hearing that he's been able to take over some of the calls where it's like, okay, I'm going here instead of there. And being able to speak to it. This is why I'm going here instead of there. I think that's impressed the offensive staff. So as good as Deuce Knight has been, I still think that Jackson Arnold is your day one guy. Unless something happens to the fall right now, you got to roll out with Jackson Arnold one. But this is the thing about Deuce Knight. The amount of reps he's been able to get as the second quarterback and being able to play with the first and second string, and looking like how he's looked, that's what's been so tantalizing for fans. It's like the potential. Now, speaking on Deuce Knight, we all hear about the arm. We hear about his size. We've seen the spirals. Even Auburn Football is posting he's throwing a tight spiral. We hear about him and Eric Singleton hooking up on the football field as far as touchdowns. That was a slight pause moment, but excuse me. I think the biggest thing with Deuce Knight that I continue to hear is he don't turn the ball over. What would you expect from a freshman quarterback playing against a high-level defense? Turnovers. I don't think Deuce Knight has over 2 turnovers since practice has started. And that's being generous. Like, I've heard people say they haven't seen him turn the ball over once. I'm just making sure there aren't any blind spots by saying too. I ain't asked you. I'm gonna ask him. But they're saying Deuce hasn't turned the ball over. That's the most important thing when you hear about turnovers. When you hear about Auburn in last year, the main thing everybody talked about was turnovers. Even when I had Josh Pate on here with me, Josh Pate said, you take the turnovers away, Auburn wins the majority of those games that they lost. It was turnovers. So Deuce Knight being able to have those high-end traits and taking care of the ball, that's what's been the most, I think, intriguing portion of everything. Like, you love his skill set. You love everything else he has going on. So that continued in the scrimmage. Both quarterbacks were impressive in the scrimmage. They dialed up, took a lot of shots. Excuse me. They didn't take a lot of shots. What they did was they hit on the shots that they took. That scrimmage was dominated by Damari Austin. Talking to multiple sources, Damari had an amazing scrimmage, ran the ball between the tackles, was able to bounce, held on to the ball. And right now, Damari Austin weighs 210, the biggest he's been. He's kept his explosion. Damari Austin looked like a 20-carry back on Saturday, the way I heard it. Talked to multiple sources who all said that Damari was very aggressive yet patient, which is he didn't take the first sliver of light that he saw. He waited until he knew he was going to be able to square his pass and get upfield. And by being patient, he was able to use that same explosion that we know. We know in 10 yards, like it don't get a lot more explosive than Damari Austin. But he was able to stack those plays consistently and just wear on the defense. So I think Damari Austin is going to be a weapon this year. And when you think about him, Jeremiah Cobb, and Darrell Robinson, Auburn's backfield may not have that guy who comes back with the, everybody's looking for Tank Bigsby or everybody's looking for Jarquez, or in years past, you had guys with the name recognition. Auburn's running back room this year reminds me of the no-name linebackers of 2004. T. Will, A.T. Williams, Kevin Sears even. Those guys who didn't have the name recognition but came and brought it every single week. That's what you're going to get out of this Auburn running back room. So to see or hear about Damari, the way he performed on Saturday, I thought that was really important. Sam Turner continues to ball out. His opportunities, he's making every opportunity to push to be that fourth wide receiver. Horatio hasn't been doing bad at all, but it's just the push that Sam Turner is making. Of any of the true freshman wide receivers, he's made the most of his time. And, you still got guys who aren't there yet, but Sam Turner has shown so much in gaining respect to his peers, already forming a bond with both quarterbacks, Jackson and Deuce Knight. So Sam Turner has proved his reliability, holding on to the ball. Had a few drops early on in one-on-ones, but he ain't been dropping the ball. When I say early on, I mean the first few practices where they weren't even in pass yet. Since the pass been on, I said Sam Turner's even taking this game to an even higher level. So shout out to Sam Turner. Offensively, I think, of course, Malcolm Simmons, once again, we'll get to E. Singleton again in a minute. Malcolm Simmons is going to that next level. I mean, the staff at Auburn feels like they have 3 number 1 receivers. Eric Singleton could be a 1. Cam Coleman could be a 1. Malcolm Simmons, they feel like, can be a 1 and may be the most athletic when it comes to agility. The best blend of agility and straight up vertical speed. Malcolm Simmons may have the best blend of that whole room. But they've been really impressed with Malcolm Simmons, and the DBs have also been impressed with him as well. Speaking of Eric Singleton, they said Eric Singleton's so good, they got Eric Singleton in a quarterback jersey. This is the truth. I'm telling you what they said that Eric Singleton has performed so well, you can't touch him no more. That's the word. They said Eric Singleton, he's already proven it. Now he's just going through the motions. They can't afford it. So there's going to be a lot given to Eric Singleton. They're going to take shots downfield. He's going to get the ball out of the backfield. It's going to be in the kick return game, maybe the punt return. Eric Singleton's going to get the ball, and he has an opportunity to be one of those SEC Offensive Player of the Year type seasons where his speed is something that you can't teach, and that he's just chewing up the difference on DBs and erasing angles when people have great angles on them. They said, no, don't even worry about it. 2-hand touch, pat, pat. Eric Singleton get the ball, pat, pat. That's what it's going to be. So I thought that was interesting to see a 9 injury. I think it's a yellow jersey. Ask around. If somebody sees this video, and if that comes out, you heard it here first. But yeah, you're not touching Eric Singleton in practice, and that's just a testament to what Auburn thinks about him, the respect they have for him, his performance. Because that's one of those things where, sometimes when you get offensive players, who you hold out, and the skilled guys is like, oh, he's soft. It's like, nah, bro, nobody wants to hurt this guy. They all feel like he's that. So shout out to Eric Singleton for just really having a bang-up spring and showing he's exactly who everybody said he was. Defensively, Malik Block continues to develop. I think the defensive line is going to be the strength of that defense. When you talk about him, you talk about Chris Murray, you talk about Kieran Crawford, Keldrick Falk. I mean, you got multiple guys who are going to get NFL looks and some day 1 and day 2 looks. So, but yeah, Malik Block that I'm hearing is continuing to develop. That rotation at the edge, Key Crawford and Chris Murray is going to be I'm very excited about Auburn's defensive line. I think this is the best D line that Auburn's had probably since Derrick Brown and Marlon Davidson. I'm not saying they have that same high level talent, even though Keldon Falk is a first round guy. But I am saying that the impact across the board, this probably is at least as talented line as that line when you look at, even with when you put the factor in the jack position, it's probably you're gonna have the most juice you've had pass rush and run stopping ability. Even with my man from West, Gary Walker, having all of these guys in there, I think this is probably the most juice you'll probably see since that 2017 iteration with Jeff Holland coming off the edge and Davison and Brown. And I think this is probably going to be the best D-line and pass rush you've seen in Auburn since then. They're really excited about it. Shout out to Vontrell, King Williams, who's done a great job. One of your best recruiters on the team as well. He's doing a great job. So definitely heard a lot about Auburn's defensive line and how they've been performing. The linebacker group, someone who had a really good scrimmage was Xavier Atkins, the transfer from LSU. That was his kind of coming out party. I believe he had like four. I think he got four tackles, 2 pressures, and a sack or something like that. But more than anything, no coverage bust. Like he was where he was supposed to be. Hit his run fits, and I think his production. I think he was if I heard it right, he was pretty high up production wise. So his thing, the player is going to be getting the weight. If he has the weight, he's going to play. He's going to continue to play. So he's got to focus on the nutritional part of it to make sure he can hold on to the weight. But as far as someone who shined in that linebacker group in the scrimmage, Xavier Atkins had a really good scrimmage. He was rotating with Marcus Riddick, who I think is going to be a hell of a player. So when you look at their rotation at weak side, you got some things that you really should be looking forward to as an Auburn fan. Robert Woodyer has been pretty much quarterback and everything. So I think you go into the season right now, if you had to go, I think you go Woodyer at Mike and Riddick at the wheel. And then you're going to see a rotation of guys. But I think Saturday at the scrimmage, Xavier Atkins announced himself as a player. So that's really good for the Auburn linebacker room. In the secondary, you had, I think, New Boy and Quan Fagans got some look at star instead of the traditional up-top safety. So Eric Winter, so right now, the 4 guys that you're seeing rotating between those roles, between the star, the 2 high safeties, and really the third safety, is going to be Terrence Love, New Boy, Caleb Harris, and Eric Winters has been getting some run at free safety. So a lot of people thought that Eric Winters was going to be the guy at the star and New Boy was going to be the guy at the free. But in the scrimmage, they were inverse. And I'm not saying that's the end-all be-all, but I did hear in the scrimmage that New Boy was playing the star and Eric Winters was playing the free, the field side safety, with Caleb Harris, with his physical nature, coming down in the boundary safety. So I think that's going to be important. And that's just a note to remind yourself that you could see Fagans move all around that defense, which I think is what makes Durkin's defense so good, the multiplicity that he has. And you can't key in on who's going to do what. He's going to send the star. He's going to send the nickel. So I think definitely seeing New Boy get reps there is going to be important. And he's already seen it. So they didn't take a ton of shots downfield. So I think they will. This next scrimmage, I think you're going to see the offense open it up even more. But, they wanted to make sure they had their run game going and see how guys were going to respond to it. But Terrence Love continues to basically just rebrand himself. Terrence Love looks like a different player on the field from what I'm hearing. The physical nature, man, I don't know if I mentioned it last week, but, man, he had a running back so hard. I mean, they said Terrence Love, that was probably his most physical play since he's been at Auburn, and then chased the ball down 15 yards to go get it. So shout out to him as well for announcing himself as a true player in that secondary. So I think you're going to see some combination of those 4. But I think there is a youth movement coming into safety. And the defensive secondary be ready for a youth movement, and they're trying to get those guys ready. So you're still going to see some of your veterans, the T. Loves. You still see Sylvester Smith as he recovers from offseason injury, working himself in and getting to where he needs to be. we'll see how that goes. I'm not even sure if I should have asked, but yeah, Sylvester Smith was someone who definitely when the workouts was making sure that he considered himself not conducted himself, as a leader. So you're going to see some veteran leadership. You're going to see guys that are going to help the young guys, but there's definitely a youth movement on that defense. Jay Crawford looks like he can be an All-American corner from what I'm hearing. And the reps that he's getting, when you're going against All-American wide receivers every day, you're going against Cam Coleman every day, Eric Singleton every day, Malcolm Simmons every day. You don't get a break. So Jay Crawford has just continued to work on his craft. I keep saying it, but they keep saying that Jay Crawford is starting to look like a first-round corner. That's what I'm hearing. I'm like, nah, Jay Crawford is the one. Can Lee as well, no matter what they throw at him, whether he's playing in a slot, whether he's playing outside, it doesn't matter. He's a true bulldog on the perimeter. I think people like saw him last year like, oh, Can Lee was getting beat or whatever. Like, but bro, listen, I'm telling you, this guy, Auburn's first two corners this year are going to rival. They got to be one of the best duos in the country, and Can Lee has been nothing but outstanding in the spring. So you got to be excited about it. I think they want to, if they could, use Strader more on the outside, Rayon Strader, and move Can Lee in. But Can Lee and your slot, bulldog. I mean, I think that's the optimal defense for Auburn when they are able to utilize him there and have another corner with length on the perimeter on the other side of Jay Crawford. But yeah, man, anything else, man, y'all let me know. I was glad to I'm on the road right now, but I did want to make sure I had a couple of phone calls this morning, so I want to make sure I got y'all some information as I got it. Anything else you want to see or topics you want to see me cover or talk about, drop it in the comments. I can say this, War Damn Eagle. All right, I'm out, y'all.